I welcome you to this full review of the Mercedes E53 AMG. You wanted to see this one especially. They have now renamed the 43 to 53. We'll tell you some more about the differences later, but of course deliver you everything on exterior, interior and a sporty driving experience with this powerful AMG model. Look forward for that on Autogefuehl, your #1 resource for in-depth car reviews and your #1 community to discuss cars in full HD, full screen and full length. Let's go! You've already seen that we have the Estate, or T-Modell as we call it in Germany for today, but everything we tell you will count for both sedan and the Estate model. That will just be the trunk that is the difference, everything else will be the same. In the front, the E53 features my favorite Mercedes grille with this diamond pin, also with a special AMG logo. Then the sensors are hidden behind the Mercedes logo. The color for today is Kevin's Side Blue, a very elegant dark blue color. Really amazing, and you see I also had the clothes accordingly. I know you guys like that, so I do that. Well, my favorite personally would be the Brilliant Blue. That won't be with the Thomas Blue, a little bit brighter, but this one here surely also looks elegant. Then the E-Class features 2 LED light strips in the front for the daytime running light. You've seen it maybe in our comparison episode with A-Class, C-Class, E-Class and the S-Class, how that changes on throughout. If you haven't done so far, check out that episode, pretty cool. And those ones here, LED is standard. Then the multi-beam LED is the option here also for the high beam. The E53 also features more sporty spoilers in the lower part, so overall looks more impressive in the front. 4.92 m or 16'1", or should I better now say 194 inches. We had that discussion now lately if I should better put the US measurement in inches than in feet. Give me your feedback to that, please. Today 3 measurements, but I want to really limit it to 2. That's enough, I think. 19-inch it starts with the E53. That's also what we have today, together with winter tires. I think that's also a good choice. If you go for bigger rims, they might reduce the comfort. Here also with the dual tone trim. Then we also have the night package, which gives you black mirror caps, also black frames around the windows. So overall a dark design together with the blue. If you want, you can also have it in the chrome style if you rather prefer that bright style. The Estate, of course, continues right there, whereas sedan would fall down from the roof line. Overall a rather round design shape at the side here, but definitely, especially in the color, very elegant here also for an Estate style. A strong horizontal layout here for the rear design with the chrome stripe here across the car, and then this, if you look at that in detail at the rear lights, this crystal design, really beautifully done. The only thing we can always argue about are those exhaust tips, because they are indeed fake. It's also not 4 exhausts, they're actually 2 exhausts if you look inside. So there's behind those 2 tips is just 1 hidden right there, but they surely still sound powerful, also with the rear diffuser then styling wise for the E53. Suspension wise, by the way, a normal E-Class Estate automatically comes with a 2-chamber air suspension at the rear axle. If you go for the optional full air suspension, you get it then for both axles. Then it's then a 3-chamber air suspension for both axles. That's also the one we have here in the E53, just the difference that it has an AMG setup, making it way stiffer. Can it still feel like an air suspension? We'll talk about that when we drive the car very soon. In general, the E-Class offers a 2-liter 4-cylinder engines and 3-liter 6-cylinder engines, both for petrol and diesel. And of course, for the petrol, also the 4-liter A-cylinder for the 63 AMG models. This one, the 53 AMG models, replacing the 43 models. Here also with a nice engine cover. This one now also a mild hybrid, so 435 horsepower plus 22 horsepower EQ boost, 48-volt board net, and you can also recuperate in this bigger battery then for fuel economy and also for more boost a little bit. 4.5 seconds is the acceleration figure to 100 kilometers or 62 miles an hour. And of course, always with all-wheel drive here. Let's experience the interior together. Here this aluminum mesh style has a decoy element integrated with the ambient light. Then the Burmester surround sound system, it's an option. Great sound. Inside of the doors does allow some bigger bottles, but not too big. Then inside here you can again see those decor elements. This is a dual screen setup, the top trim setup. As for the screens, I'll soon tell you more about that. If you wonder about that sticker, by the way, in Germany we get in test vehicles with the winter tires or with those stickers. Oh, just drive 240 kilometers an hour, not much more. Yeah, about 240 kilometers an hour, where to drive that. This is the performance steering wheel, you can see here, with Dynamica microfiber at the sides. Really cool, I can recommend that. And yeah, there will be some people saying, oh, that wears out faster, but also leather wears out fast. And this one here feels good. It's warm in winter times and it stays cool in summer times. You always get a good grip. And if you pay 100,000 euros for a vehicle, I think you can also afford to maybe get that re-wrapped after 5 years or something for a couple of €100, whatever. Then those seats here, those are the optional performance seats. You get normal sport seats with the AMG 53 as a base. I would recommend those because those performance seats here, they have bigger shoulder area and stuff and lower thigh area. They hold you tighter. Better for the racetrack maybe, but not for everyday driving. There might be some rare people, maybe you also own those and think they're really great. Then, you know, lucky for you. But I speak for the majority of car customers and they will be happier with the base sport seats as they just are a little bit more plush, let you move around a little bit more freely and are just more comfortable on long-term run. Both of those seat forms, they usually start here with Dynamica microfiber on the inside and leatherette Artico or Ambitex on the outside, which is the very good combination. Those ones here are the optional animal skin pack, which you don't really need, and they just pay extra money then for that, and you stick to that in the summer a little bit more, and it's cold in winter. So the base setup seat, just save some money, stay with the base seats for this AMG 53 and you'll be fine. Now let's get inside. No shoe tip today because my feet are all clean. So yeah, I mean, it's the classic E-Class seating position, so you sit not too low. You have a good overview still, although it's not a small vehicle. Yeah, those seats then again, they are so stiff, so already when you get in, you think like, am I going to ride like 200 kilometers with that now? Like a long road trip? And normally when you get in the base E-Class or the base sports seats, you take a seat and like, that's actually more comfortable than sitting in a normal chair. That's awesome, I can drive forever. So again, there might be some exceptions, but for most people, those performance seats just leave out that option. The steering wheel has an electronic adjustment right there in reach and also in height. And the electric seat control goes all from the inside of the doors. You can also put the lower area a little bit longer. I'm warming this 86 or 6'1", and we don't have a panoramic roof here today, so there's plenty of headroom left. But there will still be headroom left even if you go for the panoramic roof option. Interior usually starts with analog instruments on the left with a very small screen, and on the right 8.4 inch. This one is the option with 2 times 12.3 inch. Of course, that looks pretty impressive, and you also get the better GPS system. The base GPS system with a small screen is horrible, so that's the biggest reason to go for the bigger screen here than with the command system. However, you can also, for example, pick the big one here and then stay with the analog on the left. That's also totally okay. I've seen that already. Overlapping here is a very central design. Also here, great interior design to my take. What about you? Round air vents. And also here in the AMG, you get the bright metal console, not the black piano lacquer. Separate function here still for colder and warmer temperature. Soon showing you also how it looks like at night. That's really funny, I can promise you. And the steering wheel here, the Sport AMG steering wheel, flat left and right with the Dynamica microfiber, also flat bottom, pretty sporty to use. And the Distronic now moves to the steering wheel that you can control it right here, the adaptive cruise control. So very good handling, and overall I think a great styling in the interior. Left next to the steering wheel you can deactivate the assistance systems, and this button here is really funny. If you press this one here, then if those back head restraints would be up, they automatically move down. So you don't have touch yet, but with the right thumb you can control the right infotainment screen. That's helpful while driving. And then with the left thumb you just do it here for the central instruments. That's of course pretty helpful, and here you can also change the styles, for example, or adjust the head-up display. So it's really flexible. I would rather stay with the classic gauges, but you can also pick, for example, those or the AMG Sport gauges. And the head-up display will feature the speed, the allowed speed or direction, but also some GPS information if you have set a direction to. The infotainment system is not touch yet as the new MBUX. This one is not the new MBUX, but it's the recent iteration of the older system. Here again, GPS. It's not flickering, by the way, in real life. It is somehow okay from the responsiveness. Overall, you can be satisfied. The MBUX voice control is, of course, working better than this one here, but you already have one. But this one here is not like free speech. You have to move along those commands. That's, of course, really more helpful with the new MBUX. Other than that, you can connect your phone either via Bluetooth, wirelessly, or you can go with the Apple CarPlay if you have the cable set in. That's, of course, pretty helpful. And then you can also listen to music while going to the car GPS. So one feature I want to show you while being in the basement garage about that ambient light. It's really cool. When I put the temperature higher, it appears in red everywhere to signalize I put it warmer, and when I put it colder, it appears in blue. That is pretty fancy, right? And then of course you can change the ambient light in general. That's also possible. So here we can adjust the colors. From a brighter style, more into a purple one, pretty fancy for sure, more to a red one. Then we go right into this blue area, violet, really blue. That's of course fitting to the car. Then you can also have it in green, and it's really well done how you can see that we're in this rather sensual style with this vehicle. Also yellow is possible, or then just a very bright one. But I mean, just as for the exterior color, I of course stick with the blue. What ambient light would you set your vehicle to? The middle console features cup holders, and then this connection with the cable here for the smartphone. But in the middle part, this is also the part where you have the inductive charging platform. Then you can still use this classic control for the central entertainment system, pressing and turning. Some hotkeys for adjusting suspension, also the driving modes, talking about the driving modes when we drive the car very soon. Finally, this middle armrest in a split way. There you have 2 more USB supplies. As for the rear, there's also the nice ambient light here at the inside of the doors for the rear seats. Then, when I have the seat as I would be driving as a tall driver, well, you need to move the seat a little bit up that the feet can be put under the seat there. Other than that, there's still knee room left. So that's actually quite okay. The seats are also a little bit slimmer here. I think this is probably the only advantage of those performance seats. Then, headroom still, no problem. It's somewhat also okay in a sedan, but of course the estate model here gives you a little bit more room towards the back part here. And it's actually quite cozy seating position here. But again, the general problem of this very segment, the upper mid-size segment, is that the cars are pretty long and they don't have so much room on the inside as the length is promising. And also the rear bench is not as comfortable as, for example, in some of the SUVs. You always fall back just a little bit. But in general, I think you can go with 4 people here in a quite comfortable way. Isofix at the outside parts. We also have some Alcantara inserts here. And then there's this middle armrest where we have some more storage and cup holders. To flip them in again in parallel. So there we go. And then there's also a separate climate unit for the rear part. So don't have to go for it, but you can then, when you want it, adjust the temperature also right here in the rear. And you have 2 USB supplies and a 12-volt power supply. And flipping the seats from here is electric, doing like this. And also, if it is needed, the front seat automatically moves to the front a little bit. And the ski hatch is also possible if you just want to flip the middle part. And by the way, sitting in the middle part, you see there's a big middle tunnel here, and you have to put the feet right and left next to it. So let's take a look at the trunk, electric tailgate. The maximum liter figure is 1,820 liters. I'll soon show you that. First of all, some measuring. So the normal trunk length is about 1 meters 13. That's actually pretty long already. And in the width, let me just put here between those wheel arches, and that's right over a meter. It's like 1 meter 10 in width. That's also quite cool. And the height here until the cover, then the cover is about 47, and to the total height is here the middle part 74 centimeters. Very well done, by the way, that this top cover here moves up when the hatch opens and it moves down when the hatch is closing. Really cool. This is an additional floor mat, by the way, you don't have to go for it. And below that you could also fit a replacement tire, otherwise there's some more storage underneath. Then just to show you, when you put a cabin trolley in here, there's really plenty of room left. And of course the big advantage if you compare it to the sedan. And you can flip the seats electronically right there, left and also on the right. Here we go, and then you have the maximum setup. Welcome. That is comfort mode, but you already hear some exhaust note, of course. But what about, since it's a performance vehicle, we put it in Sport Plus here. And the exhaust noise is a little louder. Also, when you let off the throttle, then you hear the roaring sound. Sometimes, not always. But interesting is, this suspension here is this AMG Ride Control Plus, but it is based still on the air suspension, and well, it is hard to feel in it because they have made it pretty stiff, so it's not this floating soft air suspension you might know from a normal E-Class with an air suspension. But the E53, or former also the 43, has a suspension setup that is still somehow suitable for everyday driving.
Stauende voraus.
Interesting. So the GPS just told me that there would be the end of a traffic jam ahead. I didn't have any GPS route set or something. But that's pretty helpful, you know. There's also this new assistant system they've been introducing now in the recent Mercedes facelift, all the new models, that this tronic, so the adaptive cruise control, already reduced the speed if you're going like really fast, like it's a German thing, sorry, like 150 or something. There's the end of the traffic jam. So it was really good to have the info, but we're getting off here anyway. But really good as for the safety feature. Here now again the acoustic warning from the autonomous emergency braking assistant, which is standard for the vehicle. But what I want to talk about is when you're driving really fast and then the Distronic would automatically reduce to at least 100 kilometers per hour if the map info says there's a traffic jam end. So very interesting that they recently developed this system. So we're going to do some city driving now, and then we are hammering it out again on the motorway on another part. Also, we have a part where we have unlimited speed to really give you the full performance of this vehicle. Well, but you already heard and seen that this 3-liter engine has more than sufficient power in 4.5 seconds to 100 kilometers or 62 miles an hour. Is really something, especially for a vehicle of this size. The 63 is a second faster, but then again the suspension setup there is in a way that it's so stiff that you wouldn't enjoy it big time on your normal driving routes. Probably. I mean, there are surely some who say, I really want that stiff setup, but I'm always trying to talk for the majority of possible customers of such a vehicle. And here in the city, of course, we would rather stay in the comfort mode. We always get a nice visualization, of course. And then also the bumps are evened out quite well. Interesting, by the way, also, since we parallel have this Volvo V60, the mid-size vehicle, this one here upper mid-size, so this one's like, that longer. This one here feels more agile to move. Yes, it's an AMG version, but also when I'm thinking about being in a basement garage and going front and back, turning the steering wheel, it's easier. It's maybe because of this Mercedes system that they put the wheels a little bit to the side then to reduce the turning circle. Also from the rear view camera, it is really 1-to-1 live. In the Volvo, it lags a little bit behind. So it would be the same for the direct competitor, the V90, to this car. So sometimes in the Volvo, when they say, it's getting a little bit close, and then the beep tone comes like 1 or 2 seconds later. Too late, actually. And here it's really live. That looked like real fur. Disgusting. So here in the city, you already hear that it's super silent. Don't have to raise my voice at all. This car is also equipped with the optional acoustic package. All test vehicles from journalists you will ever see will have the acoustic package, at least if they are officially supplied by Mercedes. Maybe not every rental car or something, but of course they put in the acoustic package that they make the cars more silent. You can get it as a customer, of course, again for an extra price. The car will also be silent without the acoustic package, but here with the acoustic package, it's of course super silent and among the most silent ones in the industry overall. Just if you have the AMG version, then you start to hear the exhaust. Or maybe if the truck is really loud next to you. But it's such a smooth ride already with the E-Class. It's always great to have this vehicle, and it is surely among my most favorite in the upper mid-size segment. Moreover, of course, as for the riding comfort, when you have the non-AMG suspension, because if you seek the most comfort, then you wouldn't even go for a 53. You would maybe like pick a 400 or so, and then pick the air suspension, or maybe just the base engine to keep the price lower. And then of course the seats, as I've told you earlier, I mean, for sport seats they are somewhat still okay, and the car is so comfortable overall. But then again, they are so stiff, it doesn't make sense at all, really. If you're on a racetrack, yes. But if I think about now, I'm in one of the most comfortable, most silent, most refined cars overall in the whole automotive industry, and somehow I still feel like they should be more comfortable. I'm not too happy with the seating. And I mean, sitting in an E-Class and not be too happy with the seating is like, what? So, yeah, told you earlier, enough about that. Unless you're one of the very few guys who are actually happier with the super stiff seats, most or the majority of the possible customers will be happier with the base sport seats. And yes, they're even sportier, the base sport seats, than the normal ones, but they will still do fine. I already know them, and they are plush enough basically to have a good seating surface. Now here, before we get to the more faster part, it's a good chance to test the adaptive cruise control. I now always see it also in the head-up display. That's good. I increase the speed here at the left side of the steering wheel, and I have also for you the speed in the middle part. On the right side we have those performance indicator gauges. They are also pretty helpful for sure. And here I don't do any braking now at the moment, so the car is producing speed on its own. Of course, always be aware, never trust those automatic systems 100%. They are very reliable, but they shouldn't replace the driver. When the cars are moving, it's usually no problem, but those systems are not set up to react 100% on standing objects. So imagine there would be standing traffic in front of me. They're not rolling, they're already standing, and I'm coming from behind. There are situations where cars are not catching that. The Mercedes system is one of the most refined on the market, and since more systems and sensors play together, it's usually working as well. That, for example, not the Distronic, the ACC, is scanning that, but then already the autonomous emergency brake is scanning the standing object. You know, with those moving objects, why is it that they are not reacting so well on that sometimes? Because when there's, for example, a big sign at the road, or there's a bridge over the road, that's just basically a standing object. And if the sensors would be very sensitive to that, the car would maybe stop with a false negative, you know, like it would just stop even though it shouldn't stop. And so they really don't adjust it to, to standing objects. But here again, with the Mercedes so far, I did not experience that they failed. I think at the moment they are at the top of the game here. Now getting to the motorway again, and well, Sport Plus, better don't use it on the road. I just do it here for show purposes. It's dry, then it's basically okay. And when you say like, hey, let's accelerate from 75 to 100, it's like, plop. That's already 110. So it's instantaneously. And the sound is nice, the acceleration is great, not missing a V8 here, really refined. Yes, it is a difference when you have a 6-cylinder than, you know, to compare to a 4-cylinder, you do feel that definitely. Here again then setting the cruise control. And by the way, there is also here this automatic lane change possible, basically. Let's see if it's not doing in the corner here. See, the car is, overtaking me on the right side, although 100 is just allowed. Now reducing the speed. Well done. So you've seen that the car is being kept in the lane. I should keep my hands on the steering wheel just to show you that the car is still doing the job on its own. The automatic lane change is also available, but I think it didn't do it now because we were in a corner. Let's see if we do that again on a straight part. Again, the assistance system's working very well. This EQ boosted engine, or also EQ charged engine, so to say, with the mild hybrid system, always signaling me in the instruments when I'm recharging some of the battery or when the boost is being used. We had that already in the CLS. It's not a bad system, no, and you need it to power also all the new electronic equipment and stuff. And it's a transition process for sure, but it doesn't do the biggest game changing or something as for the consumption, you know. You can score low consumption if you like, so I'm actually quite satisfied. At the moment we are about 9 liters on 1 kilometers, driving calmly. If you hammer it a little bit more through, you'll rather get so to like 10 liters or something. And let's just get in this roundabout here. I really like to drive that one. So getting towards 10 liters in 1 kilometers, that would be then about 23 mpg. That's a realistic consumption, and you can also score then, you know, about 9 if you keep it steady, then more towards 26 mpg. But I think 10 liters or 23 mpg is more the realistic figure if you also have some city driving. Here again, see how calm the car stays in the roundabout, very precise as well. The steering could be a little bit more progressive, but that's always with Mercedes. So they in general have a rather not so progressive driving setup. So they let the driver steer a little bit more, you know. You can see it here. Now this is almost 180 degrees. See, I have to turn the steering wheel almost all the way around. I would like really when they have, you know, they don't have to steer that much. But however, the calibration so is good that there is no real dead zone. It was a little bit different recently in the GLE, but here in the AMG setup, it is already a little bit more progressive, and you see there is no real dead zone. I feel that something is happening. There's some resistance, you know, so that's well done. The Mercedes steering, when you rather like a very natural steering feeling, and if you want it more progressive, that is more with the Volkswagen group, like VW, Audi, Porsche and stuff. And BMW is somewhat in between those two groups, but definitely always very interesting, you know, to experience those very differences between the single manufacturers. Look at here. Wow, hardly any tilting when going in the corner. Oh, what about an automatic lane change here? No, the green system wasn't. There we go. So, let's see. Oh, there's a car about to overtake me. I can also show you the blind spot monitor. Look at that red triangle appearing now. So that's good. And if I put the... That was maybe already too late. So if I put the turning indicator at the same time, then there's also a flashing red triangle. Yeah, there we go. Lane change to the left. I did not steer it, you know. So I can show you that again. Lane change to the right. Car is doing it for me. Yeah, of course, you can always argue, like, how useful is that? I don't know. It's just this transition towards the possible autonomous driving. In this vehicle, you most of the time want to drive actively yourself. We will soon do it in a very active way. Yeah, but just wanted to show you that it's possible. Again, so cool how confident this ride is here on the motorway. You can really relax on the one hand, but then again you have so much power reserves. So great from the performance. I'm going to show you that because I'm going off the motorway right now. Then we'll go on the motorway again and accelerate really hard. So when the sports mode, the gears are turned up higher, shifting up later, shifting down earlier, and also the stability control is drawn back. Therefore, you should not use the sport modes when it's any slippery surface, and not the Sport Plus if you're not an experienced driver for sure. It's not completely deactivated, but it's drawn back. So again, you just have to get used to the car first. That's just, safety disclaimer here on Autogefuehl. You know, at Autogefuehl is always safety first. We show you a lot of performance stuff as well. Of course, the first goal is not to do any accidents, not to damage the test vehicles, not to endanger any other car drivers or animals or whatsoever. So now I get into the Sport Plus mode. You can check out those, oh sorry, I was still using the indicator. You can check out the speed in the middle part. You can check out also this kilowatt, sorry, in the middle part, also in the Newton meter. And we'll seek a safe spot to get on the motorway and just hammer it through. Maybe just right before the truck. I'll start from 40 and let's go. So that's 200 kilometers or 125 miles per hour. Wow. Felt powerful but refined. And even at about 200, it's still super silent in the car, you know. Wow. Here at 180, you put down the throttle and there's still something happening. Really crazy stuff. You can also shift down yourself with the pedals. Okay, that was one too much. Then hold the right pedal again to get in this automatic shifting mode once more. And now relax again. Slow speed, maybe the comfort mode, cruise control. Everything is mellow. So that's what the car is also about. You can have both ways here in the E53. The soft, relaxed driving and the really powerful AMG stuff. Again, if you seek more comfort, don't pick the E53, but this one here does still represent a compromise. Again, if you ask me like, oh, here again the ambient light, pretty nice in the tunnel. Wait a minute, what else can we do in a tunnel? Yeah. Oh, the SOS phone is already ringing, probably because they heard the sound. Yeah, so I have to keep the speed here in the tunnel for the police. But really nice to hear the sound then, you know. Maybe once I put the windows lowered. Okay, sometimes that can be a child, yes. So, and now, being serious again, we can go to 100. Go to comfort. Cruise control in. I would always pick the ACC, the Distronic there. It's pretty helpful. If you, by the way, want to deactivate some of the assistance systems, you can always put it here or deactivate them here left next to the steering wheel. In the newer cars, they have left that one out. But I think it's still quite handy to do that. By the way, also one of those keys I showed you earlier with where they put the, it's so effortless in the corner. I mean, it was quite fast still in the corner, and he's like, oh, you know, 80 kilometers getting off the motorway. Because the car is so confident and so stable. Really great ride. Or what do you think? Still one of the most impressive rides here, I think, at the moment. And yeah, I was just about to finish this thought. So if you ask me, I have tons of money, I don't care at all about money. Should I get the 53 or the 63? I would still tell you, go for the 53. It's the more balanced car. You have a little bit less weight on the front axle due to the 6-cylinder instead of the 8-cylinder. So I feel the car is handling a little bit better. It is a better overall setup for the vehicle. You also have the all-wheel drive. Well, now they put also the all-wheel drive in the very powerful models. In the past it was like this, that the 43 was always all-wheel drive, and then the 63 rear-wheel drive. They're now also putting the all-performance model to all-wheel drive as well. Also now the case with the 63 that it has all-wheel drive. But here with the all-wheel drive, it has this rear-wheel bias still. It will adjust a little bit on the situation. But you've also seen that with the big acceleration we just had, that was very harmonious. You know, due to the all-wheel drive, you're not feeling that aggressive in the car. You're not being pushed or pulled other way too much. It's really balanced out. So you experienced a very powerful acceleration, but yet it was, you know, somehow stable and harmonious going forward. And that's of course due to the all-wheel drive giving you more grip, and especially in slippery situations when you think about past days where, you know, where you had like those 400-500 horsepower performance cars just on the rear axle. Still there's some left out there. For the normal car customer, that's just too much, and you would just, you know, slide out. But then with the all-wheel drive, you have some more safety, that you also have some torque on the front wheels, especially for example for winter situation. So, and one more acceleration from you when we're already at about 80 kilometers. Wow. 200 and in the corner here, and still stable, good feeling, good feedback. Just so much confidence. So you should be aware of that this car, when you're driving really fast, you sometimes feel like, wow, am I really going that fast? Because it doesn't feel that fast. You should be aware of that, especially as for the speeding tickets. And now to our conclusion for today with the E53. Well, both sedan and estate, they drive the same for sure. The 53 with a diamond pin grille, very beautiful, my favorite front grille. Very elegant exterior, one of my favorite estates. What about you? Interior, super sensual design, also this dual screen setup looks pretty cool, but they don't have the newest software on there. Yeah, no, that's a disadvantage if you pick newer infotainment systems for newer cars, then the older ones always look dated. That's about the same thing with the infotainment system here. But overall, I still like the interior pretty much. Even more if you stick with the base sport seats, which will do more in the comfort and also keep the price down. You also have reasonable space on the interior, and of course the estate has a big advantage to the sedan that you have a more versatile trunk especially. The driving, just superb. The 53 adds a better compromise than the 63. Here you can still somehow balance comfort and sportiness, and the E-Class overall is such a silent ride, such a confident ride, and here with some more sporty fun. And I could score some lower consumption figures later on even, I can give you an update on that. So it seems that this mild hybrid system, yes, it's not like total different world in consumption, but it surely seems to help you, especially like in city driving situations where you can use this recuperation a little bit more. So why not? So considering the powerful performance and also the size of the vehicle, the consumption is still quite decent. Well, so overall, still a really great car, one of the dream estates there is on the market, but the price, I mean, come on. The T-Model or the estate here is already a couple of €1,000 more expensive than a normal sedan, so you pay at least, taking German reference price, about €40,000. Then if you go for the E53, that's already doubling the price to 80,000. Wow, I mean, that's not really justifying everything. And then if you go for some more extra specs like the Mercedes sound system and some of the infotainment stuff we went here for, wow, €150,000, and that's where my understanding is just ends. I think that's just too expensive. So I can rather recommend you then to go maybe for a smaller petrol engine, not pick everything full spec with the E-Class, and you still already will have a great upper mid-size vehicle. But of course, we can still keep dreaming about this E53. What do you think? Leave me your comments, please. And please also join us at our next Autogefuehl episode.